Welcome to the Console Xplosion podcast. You're listening to Matt Campbell from Edmonton, Alberta.
And Bill Hyndman from Edmonton, Alberta.
And that's it.
It is it for today.
It's just the two of us. Jared couldn't join us tonight. He's not feeling so well, so get well soon there, buddy. As for myself, I'm probably running at about 60%, so I do apologize to our listeners if this ends up being a bust, but the show must go on, and it's just another week, and we have a lot to talk about. Did you, sir, look at all into what is known as the Tokyo Game Show?
Yeah, I reviewed their website a little bit today.
Yeah?
Saw a bit of their news about them breaking multiple records for lots of different things.
Such as?
Oh, exhibitions that are going to be there and multiple other things. I don't want to say something's wrong, but I noticed a lot of records being broken. At least that was the claim.
Aren't those good things? Would there be anything wrong with that?
No. It looks solid. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the show was great this year. As it is every year, there's always good things that come out of it. There's not a whole lot that relates to like a Western audience, because a lot of it was very, very Japanese, and it was kind of hard. Hence the name, of course. Yeah, but they don't forget about us over here, and there was a few new peaks we got at some franchises that we're going to be seeing later within the next year or so. Some of those examples, let's see here. We had a new look at Bloodborne. We actually got some gameplay of that for once. Have you checked this game out yet, Bill?
I just watched the trailer for it.
Yeah.
It looks pretty awesome, actually.
This is the new game coming from the guys who brought you Dark Souls.
That was the one where you can't die, or you have to restart, is it not?
Basically, it's a severely challenging game where
I know the one you're talking about.
You will die every time. But
no, technically not, because unless you die, or you have to not die to pass through a mission. So
of course,
there will be at least one time that you don't die.
I would love to see a playthrough, and I'm sure they're out there. I've never tried this, but I'm going to after we're done here. I'm gonna find myself some playthroughs of people who can get like a perfect run.
Oh man, when you get through a boss fight in that game, you feel really good because you have to execute everything almost perfectly. Mm-hmm. Or at least to a very high level of skill, because it's not easy.
No, not at all. Especially if you gotta like double time it with trying to figure out your opponent and how you should approach the enemy. They all have.
Most of the time you've gone through and died from him a few times, so you'll kind of get the gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah, trial and error,
Yeah, pretty much.
Failing forward if,
Lots of frustration. I would suggest maybe taping a pillow to the wall so that you can throw your controller at it and, not have to suffer the consequences of doing that.
You could tape them to your fist so you don't punch holes through the wall either.
Well, I'm just saying you're going to be frustrated as fuck for some parts of it.
You could turn yourself into the Michelin Man, and then you don't have to harm anybody.
Just go on a rage around the house.
Just a big rampage.
Yeah, that would work.
So yeah, we got some gameplay of that. It looks great. The boss battles look huge, almost like they're not quite at the scale of Shadow of the Colossus, but I would say it's very similar
to give you that
to
feeling of epicness,
Absolutely. You gotta really turn your camera towards the sky to be able to stare that enemy in the face. So
it looks like I saw him wearing one of those hats, like from the I'm gonna get the time wrong here, but like a pirate hat kind of, or like a three-cornered hat. Is this making any sense to you?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It looks like that kind of theme, that era, so that's interesting. Always liked games of that kind.
Yeah. Well, it's You know, the trailer when they unveiled it back at E3 was enough to gain my interest in the game. Now that I'm seeing it played, it very that was not supposed to happen. Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Um, Back to what I was saying. The trailer was enough, like during E3, to gain my interest. Now that I'm actually seeing some gameplay, like I haven't lost that interest. I'm still curious. I want to maybe play some of it before I can actually come to a complete decision on it. But it's very much like Dark Souls, and that I just hate that game with a fiery passion. Like, it's not my cup of tea by any means. We tried to play it on co-op couch once. Garrett
Really?
was like, I'm gonna throw you guys under the bus, and it was more just for the sake of getting Humphrey and I to try and play Dark Souls.
Is he a master of that game, Garrett?
I wouldn't say. Well, I don't know. He might hate me for saying it, but you know, he can play it. He certainly can survive in it. He's tackled it. He's played it through. But like for me and Humphrey to just kind of pick up and start going into it, it didn't really make for the most.
Oh yeah, my first experience with that game was not good. It took a little bit of time for me to be like to appreciate the challenge, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then rise above it.
Rise above this. Yeah. But, you know, I'm willing to dip back into it. I'm always up for a challenge. But, you know, the game just isn't fun for me when it's just the challenge. Like, they just keep killing you and you got to start over. And the repetition that follows. And it's just so tedious in my books.
Well, it's kind of like The Edge of Tomorrow, you know? It's exactly like The Edge of Tomorrow, in fact. You go through one part and you start to memorize where the enemies are, so you master these encounters to a certain extent, where you can just like to dodge left and attack right, and it can become very tedious.
Yeah, but it does come to second, like it comes almost subconsciously by that point because you just fall into
once
this routine.
But once you start entering areas of where you haven't died yet, that's when you start to see how much your skill has progressed from what it was at when you first started the game. Because you're just naturally like really good at doing these certain things that you've been practiced at for a long time. You don't take as many stupid risks because you know that the consequences are a little bit more than they usually are in games. So
yeah,
it gets fun.
No doubt, it definitely does. If I can, muster up the patience to play through it,
Yeah, I get it. I'm in short supply of patience myself.
Yeah, I think the same could be said about my Warcraft career. I mean, I didn't play that all too much. I'm talking, of course, World of Warcraft, not Warcraft 3, because I played that fucking game to death. But World of Warcraft, just once I got up to, I think it was level 20, 24, I think was the last level I remember, I just lost interest. I was done killing things. And I know I was like very close to that point where I was going to get my mount. And that's apparently where the game blows up and just gets awesome. But
yeah, it opens up some doors. I think the flying mounts are where it's really at. That's what I was really psyched to get into. So
yeah, but that doesn't happen until you're like, you got to be like right to the end.
That was like the first expansion where you go through that portal of some sort. And being a druid, being able to turn into a bird was just fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, even though you couldn't use it to really do escape combat unless you ran away from the guy, it was still really cool.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. Last week when you guys told me it was free to play, I went straight to the Blizzard website and I downloaded the game and I created myself a new guy, a Pandaren, and I'm trying to fight my way through. And, I'm still trying to muster up the patience. Let's say that I'm taking baby steps. I'm slowly breaking my stride, but
you got to do that with a friend, man. You can't just go in there alone starting a new character. That's the worst.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I wonder if the game is free to download for anybody. Like, even though it's free to access, I wonder if the client is available for just all Blizzard account users.
I would imagine so, but I have not looked up anything on the Blizzard site for quite some time. I don't even remember what my Blizzard account name is.
I was at Walmart the other day and I found a Warcraft battle chest, like the old one. It gives you the first game and then it comes with a game guide. And they still want I want to say $50 for that. Like, I don't know who in their right mind is still buying that stuff. If anything, they're just clearing out supplies from the back warehouse. But
Yeah, but apparently people are gonna be buying it, otherwise they'd lower the price.
well, yeah,
Maybe moms are getting it for their kids, being like, "Oh, it's retro," and
they
they
don't.
don't understand.
Walmart really doesn't. I don't know if it's the same in the States, to our listeners out there, but this particular Walmart and most Walmarts that I find here in Edmonton don't have that good of a selection for PC games. Like, it's a very small shelf in comparison to like what's there for all other consoles. And it's always just like opposite of the music CDs. Like, it's just offset to the side, and you just pass it. There was maybe 5 different games I found on the shelf, and the World of Warcraft Battle Chest was what really stood out, but all still at regular price and all still games that are like easily 3-4 years old. So I don't know. PC gamers, I hear about 80%, might even be higher than that, but at least 80% of the PC gaming market turns to digital downloads, and they usually don't buy games unless they're on discount.
Yeah, that's what I've been noticing a lot now that I'm hanging around a lot more Steam users.
Oh, yeah?
But they offer it so readily and so frequently that it only makes sense. Like, eventually a game that you're looking at is going to come on sale. It's just happening. There's sales every day. It's amazing.
And I mean, if you think about it from the business perspective, they're probably like, well, it's either we give them a low price and we get some money out of these guys, or we're going to have this game pirated and people are just going to play it for free.
Yeah.
I think more people are willing to drop, $5 or $10 here or there.
Well, and the benefit too is that Steam will support the game then for like a number of things.
Absolutely.
And the workshop provides modding to be quite simple.
Yeah. So. And the whole social integration with the party chats and servers.
It's basically all in one. It's a beautiful, beautiful beast.
It is a great service. It most definitely is. Okay. So, there was another game that I am somewhat interested in. I was a fan of the previous title they put out. I want to say it's almost a year and a half ago now. Dragon Ball Xenoverse. This time around, they're giving you the chance to write in your own character into the history of the series.
Oh, nice. Great fans.
Yeah. Fans were certainly curious about it. When this was unveiled, as a matter of fact, they didn't explain right at the start that it was actually your character that they were seeing. They thought it was a brand new character within the Dragon Ball universe, and everyone was curious about him. Like, they put out a movie earlier this year called Battle of Gods, and that introduced us to a new character. So I guess already the fan base was set on this mindset, like, they're fleshing it out more. We're going to get more people, more lovable characters. But no, it's just yours. They say that overall with the Dragon Ball Xenoverse title, it's very reminiscent of what was Dragon Ball Z Online, which was only available for maybe a year over in China and North Korea. It didn't break out too far in the market, and it never made its way to Western audiences. So it kind of just died. It just went the way of the dodo, and nobody really saw anything of it. But there's a lot of elements that are being recycled from that to sort of, I guess, give that same feel to this game. There's no doubt that they're trying to shoot for an open world RPG, I feel. Although I don't know much of the gameplay. If it's any different from what it was before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From what I can see on these trailers that they've put out, the combat is far more versatile. Much faster paced, which is great. Seems to be a lot more action. I will admit, my one complaint about Battle of Gods was the limited move selection. And I don't know if it happened later, if you leveled your guys up, made them more powerful, you would have access to more abilities. Again, lack of patience. I didn't have the attention span to, sit through it. The game just got way too repetitious, way too fast. And it really felt like a flop. And I'm not saying it hit platinum status or anything like that. Like, there's no way we're going to see this title on a greatest hits selection. But I do like what they're shooting for with this Dragon Ball Xenoverse. And I guess for you, it's not enough to get you to
but you know
play
what?
it.
That's the thing. You're a big fan. You're more easily disappointed by these games that come out, and it's like you said last time, meeting your idols or whatever. It's disappointing sometimes. Whereas me, I could go into it fresh and just appreciate it for exactly what it is. Because if the
Yeah.
gameplay is anything like you said, that does sound like it's an interesting game. I would enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's really all people want from it nowadays. Like, make it feel like you're in the show, like you're actually a Saiyan and you're kicking ass. And the Budokai games were great because you could focus on a smaller area. You just had to put out a nice backdrop, and then you could put all of your time and money into like making these characters work and act like they should. And we've seen similarities. Actually, I've seen it done better almost in the Naruto titles. Naruto Shippuden, Ultimate Ninja Storm, and stuff like that. Like, that is a one-on-one fighter, but they still try to like play in a 3D field so you can sort of like going around an arena. And the combat's really sweet. Just the way they play, the way they handle, it feels very much like it should. It's far more intuitive. The Dragon Ball Z, I think the problem they have is, it's clunky. Maybe it's moving a little too slow. Like, they probably should reach a faster speed. And I don't know, it doesn't feel as extreme, as the show was. Like, it doesn't get me all energized and jacked up like the TV show did for me back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that could be something that's just come with age, but
maybe not. I guess you'll find out when you play.
Exactly. I digress.
To your childhood?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my childhood. Oh, that childhood.
Good
So many good times. Now you're old and got responsibilities, and you can be tried as an adult.
That's the biggest thing, really.
That's the worst part.
Yeah. No more shenanigans if you don't want to go to jail.
All right, more to come out. We actually got ourselves a first look at Final Fantasy 15, which most people expect to see, at Tokyo Game Show. Square Enix is obviously based out in Japan, and yeah, Final Fantasy 15, it's on its way. Fans out there of the franchise are obviously stoked. Personally, I can't speak on behalf of them, but there is something to appreciate about Final Fantasy. It looks great. From what I've heard from other fans of the franchise, the last few like previous titles they've put out there haven't really been up to their expectations. I mean, there have been other versions of Final Fantasy like generations ago at this point, it feels like, that they haven't been able to reach that caliber again. So I guess, like most Final Fantasy titles that are announced, there's a lot of, lot going on this. People are just fingers crossed. They're hoping Square Enix gets it right. And I'm sure they will. They'll get it the way that they want it to. And it'll look very, very Final Fantasy like. You'll still have your turn-based combat. Maybe they'll like revise the combat system again, because I heard in the what was it, 14, maybe even 13, around that time, they just went ahead and decided to switch that on people, give it a faster pace, because the whole turn-based combat system nowadays is a little too, I don't know, slow-paced for people.
Yeah, that was the biggest turnoff of the Final Fantasy series for me. Like, I played the one where you were some famous sport player guy.
Okay.
And a giant monster was coming to destroy the world. And I got into that one. I don't know what changed, but I've just never liked turn-based combat, especially not when you give such a close view to the guy and it feels like an RPG, but then you lose all that control. Like, you can explore, but then when it comes to fighting, it's a lot of just standing around and I don't know. Not fast enough for me.
No. And like for myself, I never really was into JRPGs growing up. I would say the only actual like JRPGs that I have played and completed, and keep in mind just a generalization on Japanese RPGs, for me, Pokemon, I played that. And I have actually, I feel this is more legit. I've played Golden Sun. Golden Sun was actually a really good one. I really enjoyed that. But I've never once tried to get into Final Fantasy. Something about it's just never really like drawn me to it.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And I don't want to make it sound like I don't like turn-based games at all, because I am a huge fan of the Total War series. Like, every one of their games I find amazing. So that's RTS kind of, as well as a turn-based thing. But there's Civilization, which I used to love when I was a kid. Many games. I could list more, but not on the spot.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound biased on it. Like, I do appreciate Final Fantasy for what it is. You know, it's a big, it's a franchise that's, you know, survived.
15 going on, games. Like, that's a lot of fans that must
more than that, actually.
Continue it. Okay,
I mean, this might be Final Fantasy 15, but they've had like other titles in between. You know, I think 13 had like 2 or 3 parts to it that were all separately released, and they did the same for 14. They've had some Final Fantasy Online. They've really like been tossing and fleshing out the universe and stuff.
Well, they're clearly doing something right.
Yeah, and they are an icon in the industry, so you know you gotta give credit where credit's due.
Yep.
And so I do appreciate what Square Enix does with the Final Fantasy franchise, despite the fact that I don't play it and I don't support anything because I don't pay for it. But I got friends who enjoy it, and I can understand why they enjoy it. It's just not my cup of tea.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, going on that same trend, Metal Gear Solid 5 gave us some more footage. Did you know that?
Amazing.
Oh, it does. It looks beautiful. Did you know that Solid Snake has a wolf pup companion now?
No, I didn't know until I watched the trailer that this was going to be an open world. Like, that is just incredible to me.
Yeah,
the cinematics in all of the games and the stories are just so immersive and incredible that I'm really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, I might actually have to play it. I do have other Metal Gear Solid titles, and this is like, it's nothing compared to those. Like you said before, it's an open world. Like, they're really going over and above in this one. I don't really have much details to share with people, but you know, visually it's impressive.
Yes, that's for sure. Most of the games
and,
most of the games are usually pretty cutting edge in that respect, but the stealth stuff just looks amazing, how it's so seamless between combat and stealth this time. And because it started out as a pure stealth-based game, but then it kind of moved a little bit more towards a shooter, especially in the last one. And they made that really easy to access if you wanted to go all out like that.
Sort of like make your decision. You can go and complete assaults, or you can kind of take a stealth approach sort of deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And, you know, again, with our lack of patience, I would often try to do it stealthily, and about my second or third attempt, I would just, you know, kill everyone and get through it. But it was still fun for me, like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was more of a Splinter Cell player myself, personally, but that franchise is also like taking a similar turn.
Oh yeah, I noticed that transition as well when I was playing Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
And I honestly, it went the same process would happen. I would get tired of trying something, and then I would just go all out. All out war.
I guess we should touch on Monster Hunter 4. Do you know of this game?
I've never heard of any of the Monster Hunters before, but it looks pretty impressive to me. I can't tell exactly from the trailer if it's what the combat's going to be like.
Well, it's another one of those open world titles. How would it play? It's not quite like a Dark Souls, but I would say it's just as hard. Like, the monsters don't go down that easy. They're like, they have a world with all these creatures, and you're just hunting them. That's what you're doing. You're gathering resources, and you're crafting yourself new weapons, and you're buying yourself new equipment and outfits and all kinds of stuff. I've seen Garrett play. Garrett really gets into it. I think it's more of the social aspect of it that people truly enjoy. But like, this is a huge franchise in Japan.
So it's a multiplayer game, is it?
Yes, it is. And in the last 5 years, I think it is, they've finally brought it to North America. first on the Wii, and it's proven to be successful, of course. And
Okay.
there's something to appreciate about it. It's colorful, you know, it's lovable, it's got a nice charm to it, and it's pretty to look at, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm even
And
looking at some older videos right now, and seems like it's pretty good. The massive boss fights with lots of your friends. It kind of reminds me of Borderlands a little bit in that respect.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. You know, it was interesting. I watched a video. I think it was IGN that put this video up. Just when they went to Tokyo Game Show, they decided to ask some of the do you want to call them patrons? I don't know. People attending the convention, if they were going to buy the new Nintendo 3DS. And I would say overall, it was about halfway down the middle. 50% were saying, yeah, probably. And the other half were either no or they weren't sure. But from the sounds of it, those who were setting on buying the new system were doing it for Monster Hunter.
Oh, okay.
So, like, this franchise...
No, that's something for sure.
This sells hardware. Whatever they do in this game, they're doing it right, and every time it comes out, it's a big thing. People love
it. I will definitely be keeping my eye on that.
Mm-hmm. I know Garrett wants to get us playing it, but no one else has like a copy of the game. So I think until we get multiple copies, or comes that day when we actually do get our hands on some, maybe we will do like a cooperative Monster Hunter co-op couch.
Something to keep in mind.
Yeah, like it's just a fun game to dip in and just go, I don't know, kill animals. You know, you don't have to do it in real life. You can, you know, do it in a video game virtually where
don't go
no life is actually harmed.
Don't get any real blood on your hands. Do it in a video game.
Well, you don't need blood on your hands if you're shooting them with a gun.
Well, most hunters don't just kill the animal and leave it. They skin it. Typically, you're going to get blood on your hands.
Well, I guess I'm doing it wrong.
Oh God! You just
no
a crime.
I lie, people. I don't shoot things.
It's all good.
I've wielded guns before, but I don't shoot things. It's all just for show, you know. I hold it sideways. And,
yeah. I asked them if I could do that at the shooting range, and they were not impressed. I have to say.
No.
They didn't find me very funny.
Oh. Well, you got to take gun safety quite seriously, you know.
Yeah, I suppose.
Like for one, the barrel cannot like point in the direction of anybody.
Yeah.
Even if it's like down towards the ground, it's just like, don't you dare have that gun facing me. And it's like, oh shit.
They're always like, point that thing down range. Don't put it against your head. That's not funny.
So yeah. Okay, a couple more here on the list, and then we can sort of.
Silent Hills.
Yes, man. I am so stoked for this. Okay,
that looks nuts. The ball bouncing against the door, and then it goes into the room, and like it's the guy's head, and he picks it up, and shit just gets crazy.
All those bugs and shit crawl out of him. We actually they have a demo of this on the PS4. It's called PT, and we actually played it for our spooky month. I'm actually cutting through the episode right now, and oh man, it really gets your heart going. What they're working with here in this new concept trailer is more of the same thing. I'll tell you some differences. It's a different house. You don't get those cute, colorful toys going through the hallway. It's more or less just, you know, some playing with the lights and doors opening and shutting. But this one takes it to a whole new level. Like we actually have like giant ass shadow creatures like coming at you through the shadows and fuck, I don't know.
Have you played a lot of the other Silent Hill games?
No, I want to say that this isn't compared to the other Silent Hill.
Well, it's a new company who owns it, so it's an American-made game now, not Japanese. So you can't even really expect the same style of horror. No, and I can't even speak to the same level as Kyle can about this because he is a big fan of these games. He's played all of them religiously, and I've basically watched him play them in horror because they are terrible. Like the mannequins that you even see in the movie, one of the movies. That's pretty much straight out of one of the games where they don't move unless, I don't know, it's creepy as hell basically, and they've changed up the style of gameplay a lot throughout the last 2 games. Am I right in assuming this one's coming out for all consoles, like Xbox included?
I want to say that it's exclusive to PlayStation.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a damn shame.
It is a shame, but I feel for what they're really going for in this level of detail, it's only possible with the Sony hardware.
Well, I thought Xbox One, and I am speaking from ignorance here, but I thought it was comparable to PS4.
Perhaps.
Is that completely off base, or what?
No, there are similarities. However, just internally, the PlayStation 4 packs a far bigger punch. And Silent Hill has always been a franchise that has been committed to the Sony platform. So if it does go to multiple platforms, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a timed exclusive for the Sony PlayStation 4 and then later released it on other platforms. But they're working very close with a few key developers, more specifically Hideo Kojima, who's developer of and creator actually of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And so he's very committed to this, as is the original creator of Silent Hill. They're working very closely with one another to like create this. It's a chilling experience, this Silent Hills thing. Like just playing what they gave us in PT. That's all I fucking need. Like it's nothing more than just walking down a hallway and looking at shit. The game tells you, or it lets you open doors when you're allowed to open them. Otherwise, you know, you just kind of like sit there and experience the ambient noise and all the kinds of scares that are going to go out in your face. I'm going to tell you, when we recorded this, we played it for no more than 25 minutes because Garrett and Humphrey and Aleem
screaming like little girls.
Well, there's plenty of screaming, yeah. I would say our experience was more subtle to what we could possibly have gotten. The guys actually wouldn't continue playing it because they got so scared.
That's awesome. That's a great review for the game, really.
It's frightening to say the least. It's like it's not even a game if you think about it. Like it's a demo that plays like it should, and there is a way to beat it. Like it is a game in its entirety, but it's still like considered more of just a tech demonstration, really. And it's a lot more of what you saw in this concept trailer. If they say that this will be released episodically, that seems to be the rumor going around. And if we're just gonna keep seeing like a release every, you know, few months or so where it's just like, here's another house and here's more fucked up shit that's just happening in this house, like I am totally fine with that. Like that will be good for me for, I want to say, at least 2 years, because this is the kind of game I expect to be integrated with the Morpheus headset. Like this is a game that demands virtual reality.
Yeah, it would be perfect for that, essentially.
And I could, just by looking at it, you can see the passion and the blood, sweat, and tears that have been put into creating this experience. And there's no doubt in my mind that Sony truly is proud of this title. So I don't see it going out on other platforms until it's at least lived its life out on the PS4.
That's a pretty fair assumption, I guess. Mm-hmm. So Norman Reedus, the guy who plays Daryl Dixon in The Walking Dead, you see his face a lot when I look up stuff for this. Is he the main character in this game? Is that what's happening? Like, is
possibly
he playing the face of the guy? Is this?
I see some thumbnails here and I see faces. I gotta. Okay, give me that actor's name again.
It is Norman Reedus.
Norman?
Yeah, Reedus.
Oh, look at him. Okay. He may have some connection with it. Where's his IMDb? It might actually be listed in there.
In production or something like that.
Silent Hills video game. Yes, he's a voice actor.
Oh, awesome. That's pretty cool.
It does not explain anything on what his role is. or how he's involved. It just says voice. So,
well, I think they most likely did some motion capture stuff too, so he's essentially acting out his stuff as well.
oh, I hope this isn't a typo. It says here that Guillermo del Toro is working with Hideo Kojima on this project.
Huh, nice.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. Really interesting. But fuck, like, I was a little choked that Garrett and Humphrey and Aleem, like, all three unanimously bitched out. Like,
And
after we
yes,
died.
he's calling you guys out right now for bitching out on that game.
Oh, I wanted to continue. Like, after we died and we started again, apparently how it works is if you do die in the game, it's supposed to reset everything and take you back to a new state.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say you die in real life for a second, and I was kind of starting to sweat a little bit.
It's not one of those games. No.
I think there's a movie based off of that concept, actually.
There's actually plenty of shows out there. There's a anime called Sword Art Online, which is built on that entire concept. Just an online MMORPG, we'll say, that is completely virtual reality, but the machines like are tapped in with their life support, and people get bounded to the machines, and if they die in the game, they die in real life.
That's a scary concept for a gamer like myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like the creator of the game has all these special abilities because he has complete access to
admin powers.
Admin powers completely.
That bastard.
And he's psychotic. He fucks with people. It's awesome. But we're getting off the topic here. You don't actually die in the game, in real life, I mean, but you do get killed by whatever the monster is. There seems to only be like one monster responsible. At least that's all that there was in the PT trailer. Just like a creepy ass girl just sticking her head out of things. Garrett wanted us to look in a mirror in a bathroom. Like, she led us into the bathroom, and you actually can't see much in the mirror. Like, it's all scratched up and shit. And we didn't do this on our first run, but apparently if we kept staring at the mirror, you would actually see her, the ghost, like rise out of the bathtub, and she will walk right up behind you and literally like gets as close as to like your right ear and just stares at you, okay?
Oh, wow.
Thing is, you don't want to turn around. If you do that, she kills you.
So you gotta hear her there and not look.
Well, you can see her in the mirror.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You can see her coming up from behind, and this game is rigged with all kinds of triggers similar to that. Like,
oh, that sent a shiver down my spine.
It follows all different kinds of algorithms. Like, you could do one thing to trigger a whole series of events that will all have like different possible outcomes, and if you trigger one of those, that then sends it on a whole new sequence. And there's not a single playthrough is the same. There has not been a single playthrough of this game that's been identical from the first. Every single time it's been different, and people have actually found puzzle elements. There are things you can replicate. We had a moment where the radio started telling us to turn around.
Which, of course, you don't want to do, right?
No, but, you know, being us, we challenge it, right? And that sends us on a whole new series of things. But I hear if you don't turn around, that just like eliminates that possible whatever outcome follows that, and that almost breaks that trigger. So she's got to try a different way of like getting your attention and stuff. And it could be just things like doors opening and closing, or shattering, or banging, or anything like that, really. And if you just go and focus in on it, you can send yourself on a whole new series. So anyways, we died. This is what I'm ultimately getting at. We died, and the guys didn't want to continue because it was too fucking scary. Their hearts were racing, whatever. But we get in back through the door into our hallway, and it literally, because the whole idea is everything resets. It looked like nothing changed. Like, we died, and we just restarted from our spawn to go back in and see what we did wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everything was exactly the way it was. We still had our flashlight, which was given to us in the exploration of the house. The game kind of led us towards it. But like, we had all of that there, and the guys are like, oh no, this is a new start. I've never seen it start like this before. Like, we're talking complete pitch black hallway and heavy breathing and just like, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. No, 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 no. And I almost wanted to test it and go for it, but then the guys got up and fucked off. So it doesn't make
there alone.
Yeah,
terrified.
it really doesn't. It doesn't make for like interesting, videos. But I definitely want these. If it's not these guys, I'm doing it again. And like PT has to happen more than once this month. I'm gonna put out a couple more. I really want to do it because if that's all it's gonna take for us is to sit down for like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
It can just be something we pop in and play with whoever's there, and we get our reactions. And
that game sounds like the kind of stuff. It sounds like the kind of stuff that you want to happen in that ghost hunting show, like the Taps. Like you're like, oh man, I hope something crazy like that happens, but it never does. Of course, it's always a fucking burst pipe or something lame.
Yeah, and just the atmosphere that it provides you, it's so immersive. And we actually like put ourselves. All the lights were out. I positioned our seats like center of the room, and we turned up the surround like full 5.1 channels, and we went crazy. It really sends a chill down your spine. And
I have no doubt.
By far I showed you Five Nights at Freddy's and that was scary for me. This game I think tops that, and this game is now like my new favorite game. Like Garrett had to go and take Aleem's PS4 because he got Destiny and he doesn't have hardware, so he's got to take it. And now I can't fucking play it, and it took me way too long to download it. The only reason we played it is because it's October. It's like spooky month.
Yeah.
But this was something that's been available since E3, which was like before summer. Like
you're kicking yourself for taking so long. It's okay. You've got lots of gameplay in the future.
I'm kicking myself in the ass, and I'm still like I'm jonesing for it, man. Like it's just so good. But that's enough of that. Okay. Silent Hills. I'm super stoked about it. If anything, that's probably my favorite of TGS. If you guys haven't figured that out. But I think the last one we should touch up on here is The Evil Within, which is actually coming out with less than a month, actually, like mid-October. Another super spooky game. It's actually called Psycho Break in Japan. And that's more correlated to what actually goes on in this game. I hear it's very much a psychological horror type experience, and it likes to fuck with the player, similar to what PT does. Except you're working in a first-person perspective, and not really too sure on the role of your character, but he seems to be combating a lot of paranormal activities.
I see that it's a Bethesda game too.
Yes.
That excites me.
You do love your Bethesda.
I am a big fan of Bethesda.
Mm-hmm. And this is a game that's created by the original creator of the Resident Evil franchise. So this is essentially a new take on the horror genre. And I'm not sure why they called it The Evil Within. Like Psycho Break enough was like a good title, but maybe they called it Evil Within to give it similarities to Resident Evil, just so it's a little more palatable for a Western audience. I mean, I'm not entirely sure.
It could be.
There's a lot of just the trailer gets me worked up. Like it looks great, and I'm super stoked to start playing it. I have it pre-ordered and everything. I'm gonna start playing it like once it comes out.
Is this a purely single player game, or is it multiplayer as well?
No, it's a single play experience.
Okay.
Which is almost better for these kind of games, There are some like horror titles I have in my library that play on a multiplayer aspect, but that almost has to toy around with a few different types of elements in there. Like Left 4 Dead, for example, it at least allows the players to act as zombies, so you can have zombies versus survivors sort of play style. I have Damned, which is more of an indie title, but that's besides the point. You have Survivors, which are trying to find an exit, which requires you to go into rooms, find keys, unlock doors, and go around, while there are other players who act as the monsters, and they too are lurking around, essentially just trying to kill the survivors. but there's
essentially the versus mode of Left 4 Dead again, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Without the added zombie hordes to deal with as well.
Yeah, and the survivors have no way to like combat against the monsters, so you're forced to run away into hiding.
You were telling me about this one a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Like when you're actually versing a player who knows what the fuck they're doing.
So they essentially just trying to corner you or can you outrun them really easily? Is that how your defense?
You can outrun them. It doesn't appear to have a stamina bar, which is nice. But these monsters can appear and disappear. They can like phase themselves between the spirit world and the real world, is how I'm gonna put it.
So they could be standing a foot away from you for a while and you wouldn't know.
No, and nor does the monster. The monster has like, when they're in the spirit world, because there has to be some sort of a challenge. Otherwise, it's just OP for the monsters, right?
Yeah.
The monsters have an aid to help them find the survivors. But you pretty much just have to, just spawn yourself in and start finding these people. And then when you do that, you kind of have to home in on them and just touch them. That's all you got to do is touch them and they die. It's very simple in its execution, but it's more of, again, just more ambience and the atmosphere it drives. It's a very dark game. The survivors are given nothing more than a flashlight that barely fucking works.
Jeez.
And so you have limited views, or it's sight. You have limited sight. And yeah, the monsters look scary, dude. Like that's all that it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. And
it's the Evil Within, it looks a lot like, it reminds me a lot of Silent Hill. Cross between Silent Hill and Resident Evil, really.
Yeah. It could be very much
with the visuals and the monsters and stuff like that.
Some of the effects really that they throw in there, man, it looks really sweet.
Yeah, like and the players' reactions too. That they like have people testing it out and they videotape them.
Yeah.
It gives you a really good idea of how much you're going to enjoy the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, real spooky. Real spooky. I'm excited. Playing scary games are like my new favorite thing.
Yeah.
Garrett was talking.
Do you have like a discount on Depends right now? Is that where you get really into it?
I'm not old enough to wear Depends.
Yeah, not yet.
They don't come in my age, so. But yeah, Garrett was talking about us getting our hands on an Oculus Rift.
Oh, really?
Where his brother, actually has expendable cash, and he's been keeping very current with the Oculus headgear, and he got himself a dev kit of the new. I'm trying to think of what it's called. The Crescent Bay model. He's got that on the way. And Garrett's worked it out, so Ty is going to bring it over, and we're going to play some games for it. Some fun, but I'm more interested in playing the spooky shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much the best application for it, I would think.
Yeah.
It's going to amplify it the most. Now, I thought that one wasn't for sale, though. The Crescent Bay, how would he have gotten his hands on that?
I believe it's available for pre-order.
Oh, that's incredible.
I mean, it is and it isn't available to consumers. Like, if a consumer chooses to buy it, they have to understand that it is only a dev kit, the hardware's not perfect, and the software may fucking break it. Because it's all prototype and it's all, like, not up to stuff.
Right.
It's more essentially, it's intended to be a tool for developers to have software ready to go when the platform is ready to be released to the consumer base. But people can't fucking wait. They can't. People want virtual reality, and this gear does a good job of providing that illusion. And, I guess some people are willing to drop $300-400 down for it. If I had the expendable cash, I would do the same.
Yeah, I can see myself making that decision. Like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to wait. I'll probably just get another one once the technology's a bit more refined anyway. So just do it.
I still kick myself in the pants that I didn't jump on it sooner, you know what I mean? But now we're getting close to a consumer model next year, and I'm just kind of like, okay, I've waited this long, I can probably like coast for a little more.
Well, I'm very ashamed that I only heard about it last Thursday. But
You
you
know
know
what?
what? I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm going
Yeah,
to
but
move forward.
that's probably good in your case though, because like I've just been painfully sitting back and waiting since like 2010 when
Yeah,
this
holy
was first
Christ.
pitched on Kickstarter. Like I've been keeping very close eye on this sort of thing. I'm
Yeah,
super stoked to see like how it will revolutionize the industry once it is available to consumers. Like this
yeah.
is the uh, next level,
I
next level
feel
shit.
sorry for you having have to wait that long. I pre-ordered
Well,
Oblivion like 3 months in advance. Those were the worst 3 months of my life.
oh
Looking
yeah,
at the
it's
same screenshots that were like never updated, just dreaming of the game and dealing with that suffering inside. I have
yeah.
no clue how you still have a full head of hair, my friend.
Oh, it's painful. It really hurts and kills me on the inside, but you gotta tough it out, I guess. It is what it
Yeah,
is. Half the time I don't even pre-order games anymore because I just don't. I mean, I do get excited for games, but I've like taught myself to not
to put it out of your mind until it
exactly
closes. Yeah, it's a
remove
sort of
myself.
meditation. It comes with age because I did the same thing. It's like I don't want to do that every time there's a game I'm psyched for.
Yeah, like when I was younger and I pre-ordered something, I would always like tack the receipt to my wall so I would never lose it. Like it would be there in
That's
front of my door, and I'm just like, oh yeah, just like 2 more months or some shit like that. I
I
don't
could
do
just see
that
you like
anymore.
kissing your hand and like brushing it up against the receipt every day you walk past it.
Shh, it's
I'll
okay,
see you later. I'll see you
baby.
later, baby. I'll see
I'll
you
see
later.
you. I'll see you when I get back. Have ourselves one hell of a night.
Telling it
Um,
all about your day and all that shit.
exactly. That's just somewhat psychotic, but
The level of dedication you put into your love of video games.
hmm. And I don't get the wrong impression that I don't have that still. Like I'm very passionate about my games and I still love to play them. I'm a little more willing to wait nowadays though. Like there's a reason I have yet to jump on the next generation hardware.
Mm.
Thankfully, Aleem bought himself a console, so I was able to sort of like get it out of my system.
Yeah, get a taste.
And now all I got to do is wait. I mean, PT came around, and now I'm just like, fuck you, Garrett. Why'd you have to take the PS4? But I mean, he's playing Destiny. If I had myself a copy of Destiny, I'd probably be doing the same. I just don't have that kind of cash in my pocket. And it's unfortunate for me. I'll probably miss that boat. I won't be able to enjoy Destiny the same way these guys are doing it because, Humphrey's playing it, Garrett's playing it. Everyone at Garrett's work is playing it. Like, they're loving it with all of their friends. Even some of their closest friends that play League of Legends have now, like, moved over to a PS4 console, or I should say Xbox One. I shouldn't limit it to that. But I will say the majority of these guys have PS4. I mean,
Yeah, well,
at
you
least
mentioned. Sorry, go ahead.
if you have like at least 35% of the group that's already owned a PS4 and already has a copy of Destiny and the rest are getting on board, like you're not going to be the odd guy out that's like, yeah, I got the Xbox version.
Then you stop hanging out with them, and your life just goes downhill.
See, now one thing I would have really loved for this, and I'm hoping that it's still something that's on Bungie's drawing board, but I don't see there not being a reason that they couldn't have it cross-platform play. Like, why can't I play with people online who are using an Xbox console? I mean, it's
You know
not like
what?
it's on
I
PC or
played.
anything.
I was playing Chivalry Medieval Warfare with a guy on PlayStation, and I'm on my PC here.
Yeah,
So it is out there, and I don't know how hard it would be to implement into games that are already made. I feel like it's just something to do with the networking, right? Like I don't
right.
think it should be that hard. I don't know why they don't do it.
And there's like Bungie put a lot of money into this game. We talked about it last episode, so we don't need to, dwell on the details.
Mhm.
But I feel like if they are providing their own server network and all that kind of stuff, there must be some incompatibility issues between the PS network and the Xbox Live service. But we've seen games out there make it happen, and it's worked. Why can't we do this? Like, that would just make it all the better. Then it's not limited to a PS4 audience or a 360 audience or an Xbox One. I mean, people who buy it for an older generation have the option right now to just freely upgrade themselves to the next gen version, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess now that I say that, in hindsight, it's probably more working towards hardware sales for this game.
Well, maybe it is to do somewhat with, like, whereas the PlayStation and the computer, like via Steam, you don't have to pay for anything, but the Xbox you do. And maybe that's kind of the deciding factor, where, like, once they bridge that gap between all of them, either they're all going to make us pay or they're all going to be free. And maybe they're not on board with that.
And it sounds like they want to make us pay for new hardware too. I mean, like, this is coming out just with less than a year of these consoles being out to the consumers, and you know, they're still trying to go for hardware sales, even though like Sony has basically dominated. They're still, you know, trying to push those units out. So Destiny is, you know, the title they were banking on, and obviously they want to see that succeed. And there's no doubt that it's doing very good things for Sony, but
yeah,
it'd be nice to see the company, because the purpose of them going independent was to, you know, develop on multiple platforms, and for them to create this big MMO for consoles only to have it limited to their networks. I just feel that's silly. That's foolish for 2014, you know.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more cross-platform play, and I can understand if it's PC gamers versus console gamers, because there is it can be very one-sided. PC gamers are far more they're far more reckless.
How so?
Well, they're more prone to hackers.
Oh, of course, that's
and modding and all that kind of stuff.
But I don't see the modding as a negative at all. I find that to be a big upside of computer gaming.
I don't know if you are familiar with this game, but it's called Shadowrun.
The name sounds familiar. What's the game like?
It was basically a Counter-Strike, except they had some more than just guns. You had special abilities and powers. They had a glider that you could use. You could even like teleport through walls and stuff. It was really cool. I enjoyed the combat very much. The long and short of it, though, this was a game that released exclusively to the Xbox 360, and its hook was that you could play online with PC gamers.
Okay.
And what ended up happening was a lot of the PC gaming community were throttling networks.
But is that them manipulating the situation, or just a byproduct of weaker processor from a console standpoint and stuff like that?
No, it's definitely the user that's manipulating the game, and it really became a problem for people. I mean, aside from what control scheme you choose, there's no doubt that people are more accurate using a keyboard and mouse. Heck, there's even some people out there that are more accurate with the gamepad, but I mean, I think we see a far greater accuracy of users through keyboard and mouse. And aside from that advantage, like just PC gamers, you know, do some recoding, throw in a program, whatever it may be, like it basically gave them an access into the Xbox Live network.
And that's really shitty to show. Like, when you give humans the ability to fuck with someone, they will take that and they will use it as much as they can.
There's a lot of people out there that,
but there are people for sure.
There are definitely a good handful of people out there that just love to fuck around and dick with people.
Yeah.
And there's a fine line between having fun and just being a fucking dick.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like, okay, I'm not one of them. I don't like people like that. But they're having fun. Their idea of fun is a little bit more twisted and dickish, let's just say.
Right.
To keep it simple.
And in this case with like Shadowrun and stuff, there's not much you can do. Like you capture points, like control points I'm talking about, or you're playing a Slayer where it's just kill deaths that count. Like they would just manipulate the play of the game to help them, you know, come out on top, which, you know, is frowned upon. Nobody wants that. Like that's when you start getting you know, that's where fights start happening and people start slandering each other. And we get that online through chats anyways, but I'm just saying, like, that's when people really start getting pissed off, is when you just can't enjoy a game when there's a player that can just have complete freedom to do whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna lose anyways because this guy's gonna fuck with it and ultimately win. Like, did you ever because you bought an Xbox back in your day, right?
Yeah,
I'm talking original Xbox. Did you ever, when playing online, did you ever experience mod chips?
No, I didn't, and I didn't actually go a lot online with the first Xbox.
Yeah.
It was more a single-player console for me.
My first experience ever dealing with a modder through an Xbox was on Halo 2.
Okay.
And oh boy, it was bad. This guy gave himself rapid fire and unlimited ammunition. He also fixed our spawn location, so we would spawn in the exact same spot every time we died.
Right.
And so he takes the human sniper and sort of positions himself where he can shoot at us at head level. And he just, I'm assuming he held onto the right trigger, and it was just a never-ending stream of bullets.
Probably reduced or eliminated his recoil too.
Well, there's not much recoil that came with the sniper back in those days.
Oh, really? On full auto?
Well, the gun was never...
That's what rapid fire would make it do.
Well, yeah, but the gun was never designed to be like a semi-automatic weapon or anything like that, you know? So it only has so many details. I don't think recoil was really one of them, but if you moved around and stuff like that would affect where your bullet went. Aside from that, you don't have enough time to fire a shot after the next to really feel that recoil.
Fair enough.
But anyways, yeah, this guy had our fixed positions and he just unloaded on us, and that was the game. His entire team just stood around and watched me and my friends all just kind of, you know, dropping down into our big pile of bodies. And jeez. I mean, that's not fun for me. Is that fun for you? I don't want to fucking do that. I want to play my fucking game. Yeah. I couldn't move. I couldn't do shit. And I'm not saying we had any of that stuff happening in Shadowrun. Frankly, I don't know what exactly went down, but there was a lot of hate towards the PC game community.
I'm sure it happened to somebody along those lines of like being exploited completely.
Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, with that mentality, they prefer to keep those communities separate from each other so that they don't have that kind of conflict. But I don't know. In this day and age, I feel like we're in a new period in gaming, and it's all about the social aspect of it. And how awesome would it be for Bungie to not only have the first... I guess there's been other console MMORPGs, but like this, for what it is, I would have loved to have seen them make it a multi-platform title. Just in terms of online social integration. I don't know how I'm supposed to word that. I'm sorry, people. My head's kind of heavy today. It sucks.
Hey, everyone. You want to record video game footage to your computer and be like cool guys like us? Well,
I do.
ConsoleXplosion.com, you can actually click our ad right here on the bottom, and you can get a Roxio HD video recorder for 20% off the regular price. That's right, save 20% off by just clicking the ad or link in the description, and you can get yourself any Roxio products that they offer 20% off. It's a huge deal.
20%?
That's right, 20%.
Holy shit.
20 and little percent sign. I don't know what those are called. Percent signs? Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that.
All right. Either way, check it out. Links in the description. Ads right here. Hopefully you pick it. Check us out. Again, that's www.theconsoleexplosion.com. Scroll to the bottom. Back to the show.
Back to Tokyo Game Show. Was there anything else from the show? Because for me, it was hard to find a lot of details. Like, not complaining here. Tokyo Game Show is what it is, but it's not exactly for a Western audience. You know, we have some games that we're looking at, but for just in terms of what was unveiled and all the cool stuff in there, it was hard for me to try and like dissect out some key things that would really matter to us. But was there anything that you found when you were researching all this stuff that, you know, gained your interest at all?
Yeah, there's something that I could talk about here. Let me pull this up. Yeah, Game Pop has brought out, I don't know if you know, but they're planning some of those micro consoles that are basically just downloadable game running apps. They work like a console, but you just download it onto your Android or computer. And they're coming out with two kinds, actually, a full size and a mini. And that's been in production for a bit. That's not the news. The news is that they've made a touch controller that can be put onto your phone or your iPad or whatever you have. As long as it runs Windows 8 or it's an Android, I believe, you can use the program. And it's completely 100% customizable. It comes with 18 pre-built virtual controllers already. And there's an editor, like I just said. Gives you pretty much every option you can imagine.
So you can move your button placement and stuff?
Yeah, you can move it. You can make it bigger.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
You can change it so that it's there's touch and release or dragging your finger on it and having it activate. So there's different options for everyone. And their big competitor right now, which is Ouya, the big complaint was their controller, that it didn't work very well with the games they had, because it was made for a console, not for computers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And this seems to really just kind of fix that problem. So it looks really cool. It's called the Tokyo Electron device. Real fancy.
Rolls off the tongue.
It does indeed.
Well, okay then. I don't know. I think that concludes our Tokyo Game Show talk here. I'm sorry that we don't have more to discuss for you guys out there. I'm not so enthusiastic about the Japanese titles, apparently. I mean, I'm super stoked about Silent Hills. That's obvious, but
yeah.
And the Evil Within,
and Metal Gear.
Metal Gear, there's something in there. I'm very curious about it. Apparently, that works in the same universe as Silent Hills. I read something where Snake actually has a decoy that he can put out, and it's the same ghost girl that we experienced in the PT demo.
Okay.
Like it just kind of inflates a decoy of her and gains attention.
Neato.
Which is interesting. I don't really know if there's going to be some horror, scary type elements that are put into the game. I mean, being an open world, I don't see why you couldn't take Snake into like a haunted house or something.
Yeah, and have him. Gives you endless possibilities, really.
I mean, if there's any game out there that would do something like that, I feel Metal Gear Solid is probably one of those titles that would reach that caliber. Just, you know, because that's just how Hideo Kojima works. They have a lot of Easter eggs and all kinds of things that are included. One thing that's interesting, which we never really bothered to mention before, you can actually change out the template of the box that Snake will hide in. You can actually give it different looks, and I don't know if they're pre-programmed images or you can actually upload your own things, but they got stuff like you can fold it out to be another decoy, and it's like a half-naked woman or something.
Mm-hmm. You could always throw the dirty mags down on the ground to distract the guards.
So. Yeah. So
like, oh, and then you just knock them out.
Yeah, I mean that stuff is coming back, which is always good to see. But I'm certainly like the biggest thing that I'm interested about is the open world aspect, and just visually it's so impressive, and
yes, definitely.
I'm really excited to try it for sure. But first, I need a PS4, and that's gonna start whenever Garrett decides to bring it back. So, yeah. But that's enough said about Tokyo Game Show. Let's talk a little Kickstarter. You know anything about what's going on with Kickstarter? And frankly, I should really stop approaching it like this. I've noticed that I keep asking you, do you know? Do you know? Do you know?
Well, that's how you start a conversation.
Sure. I mean, it can be, but I sound like a broken record when I say it. So
that's okay.
I'll try and, go with a few other types of words.
I know that they've added a contract, a legally binding agreement between the creator and the backers now. Mm-hmm. That's basically what I know about it.
Yeah. Well, what has been happening here with Kickstarter recently in the last, I want to say in the last year or so, ever since Kickstarter really like blew up, there's been constant issues with projects not succeeding. They haven't reached their goal, or for whatever reason they did reach their goal and the game still couldn't come out. They either did a miscalculation on their budget or whatever the reason. It's just the project doesn't succeed, and then users get a notice saying like project's been scrapped, sorry, and that's it. That's all that's been said of it. And there's been plenty of outrage from it. People love to think, you know, that they're entitled to this money and they need it back, because it's like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this, so give me my fucking money back. But the one thing that's most mind-blowing to me is that people don't seem to understand the concept that it's not an investment. Well, you are investing, theoretically.
It's just not your typical investment where you can expect returns, like actual returns.
Yeah, it's not contractually binding. It's just like, give us your money. Well, you know, you're putting the trust in that person or company to come out with this game that you so desperately want, and then, oh, it doesn't happen. I mean, that happens all the time in businesses, you know, with corporations and stuff. Oh, definitely.
But there's already that agreement, that liability there on both sides where they have to provide something.
Absolutely.
And really all these Kickstarter people have to provide is the rewards that they promise people, which can be as little as a signed piece of paper or something like that.
Or like a sticker, or
like, really anything. It says in the thing there, what they'll give you for donating a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all their obligation is.
Mm-hmm. So Kickstarter's been taking a lot of flack on this, and I guess they feel it's necessary to cover their asses, so they've made some changes to their terms of use. And what they've essentially done is clarified what's expected of the creators should they choose to, you can't make that choice. Should you fail to finish your successfully funded projects? And basically, in a nutshell, as it's put out there, Kickstarter's not responsible for these people. It basically...
They're essentially the middleman.
Well, they are the middleman. They are providing this for people. It's their website. Like eBay obviously has to deal with similar things with like sales and stuff. They essentially have their own legal firm and all kinds of actions that can be taken towards a seller that doesn't, you know, abide by their end of the deal. But, you know, I guess Kickstarter would like to just keep a note that they're simply providing an archive for this kind of stuff. Like, you're making the conscious decision to give them money. These people, I mean, you give in to their bullshit, their lies. Like, there have been scammed projects. People do believe they're getting scammed from this because whatever comes up, oh, we did a miscalculation, we need more money, or it wasn't enough money, and nothing needs to be said about what happens after that. So they just, you know, they close their page down, say the email is deleted, and then there's no possible way to contact these people. And so Kickstarter gets all of this attention from this angry demographic that wants their money back, because they view it as a purchase. The agreement is that if you're going to post on this site, you have to abide and you have to meet your promise. If for whatever reason you can't complete the Kickstarter project, you have to explain to your users why, and you need to figure out something to get it done.
Yeah, and you've got to give them a breakdown, a detailed breakdown of how the money has been spent.
Yeah.
So they can't dick them around anymore. It's pretty much a business now, and it's got a legal contract in there.
So creators must follow a 5-step checklist to satisfy Kickstarter that they have done everything they can to resolve the situation. These points are as followed. They first have to post an update that explains what work has been done, how the funds have been used, and what prevents them from finishing the project as planned. Pretty straightforward. They have to work diligently and in good faith to bring the project to the best possible conclusion in a time frame that's communicated to backers. They have to be able to demonstrate that they've used the funds appropriately and made every reasonable effort to complete the project as promised. They also have to be honest and make no material misrepresentations in their communication to backers. So you can't be feeding any bullshit to these people. And you have to offer to return any remaining funds to backers who have not received their reward. Or you got to explain how those funds will be used to complete the project in some alternate form. Either way, if there's money left over, give it back to them. Give them something. Because these people aren't going to stop until they get something. Because that's what was promised to them, was something.
The good thing is that if you don't finish by your deadline, it doesn't immediately require that you hand back the money and shut things down. You can discuss and find a way to continue the project and get it completed.
Absolutely.
So it's not incredibly harsh. That's the good thing. It's still kind of loose. You know, it just cuts out the people who are going to be scamming, essentially.
Yes, they are being reasonable about the whole thing. They just would like to, make a note that it is not their obligation to follow through with these projects. But if certain actions aren't taken, then Kickstarter will be responsible to sort of come in and maybe take more legal action. And nobody wants to deal with that kind of shit. Like, don't bring us that kind of beef,
Yeah.
But they're doing what they can. I mean, I'm glad that they're working towards something like this because, frankly, it should have happened far sooner. If anything, that should have happened right out of the box, but it didn't.
Yeah, it should have been a fundamental part of the whole program, but, better late than never.
And I don't know, because there's other sites out there that do this similar. There's Indiegogo, for example. I don't know what their terms of agreement are, but I would assume that they're very following the same footsteps. If they haven't yet, they probably will now. But that site's been around a little bit longer, and I'm sure that they've already worked out their side of that whole ordeal.
Yeah,
it's just so silly, these crowdfunding things. It's too easy to manipulate people and just get money out of them.
Too easy.
Way too easy.
Speaking of crowdfunding, I don't know if you're ready to move on to this.
Yeah, let's do it.
But the Wolverine statue in Edmonton, they're talking about potentially using crowdfunding for that because Edmonton's not willing to fork over the money to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you listening that aren't familiar with this, it's a quick backstory. According to Marvel, the Wolverine character was created in Central Alberta, I believe is what they said, within the province of Alberta. And there is someone
being the city of champions, we're just going to assume it's Edmonton.
Yeah, right. We need something. We just have that Gretzky statue. That's all we've been riding on for the last fucking 20 years or whatever.
Not to disparage him, he was a great man. He is a great man.
Absolutely. And he's going to be a grandfather. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. Congrats to him.
His daughter announced she's prego. So, yeah, way to go, girly.
Yeah. Another Gretzky, hopefully. Well, obviously another Gretzky, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. So this Edmontonian by the name of Jesse Seitz has placed a petition on change.org, okay, that allows people to sign petitions online. They're calling for a 1,000-foot Wolverine statue. And this man actually garnered 1,784 signatures a year ago.
But was that not Brian LaBelle who did it a year ago?
Okay, I'm seeing Brian LaBelle here. I thought he was the new one on this.
I know Brian LaBelle launched a similar petition last year, pushing for a 1,000-foot statue of Wolverine.
So I have it backwards.
And it was initially a joke, which is the funny thing, but apparently people are really into it.
Well, yeah, and there's definitely support for it. Like it's it's not just like, hey, let's get a comic book thing put up, you know, in downtown Edmonton. Like, this is somewhat of a history of Alberta. Like, this is a character who was created here, and it has a legacy, and it's been very successful in, you know, other mediums. So why not have us be?
1,000 feet does seem a little excessive. I don't know if you kind of agree with that, but I don't know.
It is excessive.
I like the idea. I don't like the reasoning behind it. Like, some of them are using this thing, like the morals and traits portrayed by Wolverine identify who we are as Albertans: honorable, strong, and sometimes a little wild. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we can all claim to be so honorable and strong. Like, I think that's a pretty broad thing to say about all Albertans, but the idea of having the statue is kind of cool.
I think he said a lot of that fancy, you know, talk just for the comedic effect.
Yeah, perhaps.
But I mean, sure, certainly the government or the mayor's office probably isn't taking him seriously or anything like that. But if we get like enough pledges for it, I guess they can still consider it. But
well, they're going to talk about, or they have been talking about, putting it on private property because there's less red tape to go through, essentially, to do it, less restrictions.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading it here, and it says they want to put it at the City Hall, Churchill Square.
Right.
Or possibly the legislature grounds, which, well, I don't know. I could see there being a fair amount of outrage from that.
Yeah. Definitely for the legislature. But I don't know. Wouldn't it be kind of like a touristy thing for people to come and see? And I don't know, the city likes stuff like that. It would be a worthwhile investment if they could talk them into reducing the size, maybe. But,
well, yeah. This new petition doesn't say anything about... sorry, excuse me. The petition doesn't say anything about like how tall they really want the statue. We just keep like referring back to the old petition that was made for the 1,000-foot statue. I mean, I think this guy Jesse Seitz is actually, you know, trying to eliminate that kind of bullshit and just being like, let's make it. And I don't know if I need to see it downtown at my ledge grounds or my city hall. Like, I could definitely see where that would be frowned upon. Like, that's putting, you know, to a common person, that's like taking geek culture and putting it on historic landmarks, land and sites like that. I just don't see that being fully supported by a good majority of the city, at least. There's certainly like older demographics out there that might not necessarily understand this appeal, and there's probably a lot of people out there that just see it as nothing more than just another stupid internet thing, and no, we shouldn't follow through with this. But if people actually understood like the history of the Wolverine character, maybe they'd, you know, take it a little more seriously. I mean, it's a fair argument. I would like to see it erected.
Would love to see it erected.
I would love to see it, you know, in somewhat of a heavy traffic area. You know, I don't just want it like pushed off to the side like that giant baseball bat they have on 118th
I was just going to mention that thing. Apparently, that's to commemorate our softball teams, because I was thinking before too, like, we're not a baseball city. Like, the Trappers were gone a long time ago, and they were not big in the first place. They were like minor league and probably not very good. No offense to all you Trapper fans out there, but I just didn't get it.
Are there still fans? Are the Trappers still coming around? Like, I don't know.
They changed teams to the Cracker Cats or something like that.
Oh, but we still have a baseball team? Like, I know we have Telus Field and stuff, but...
I think we have a team simply because we have a field, and we don't want to go to waste, so somebody plays there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Apparently, though, there is... Metropolis, Illinois has a 15-foot Superman statue, and Detroit has a 10-foot RoboCop statue. But they had to raise, like, nearly $70,000 for it through crowdfunding. Well, so if it comes down to it, I think it will be crowdfunding, and I think it'll be drastically reduced. 15 feet seems good, you know. I would settle for that.
Yeah, why not? You could even make them life-sized. And it could just be like one of those bronze statues that are just kind of like lingering around on it. Like, you could put them on a sidewalk or so that people could walk by them, you know.
Take their picture with it. I would love for them to get Huey Jackman to actually be the face of it. Although I know they won't, and he probably wouldn't agree to that. But that would be pretty cool.
If anything, I feel it would probably take after the comic book version of Wolverine in like his classic yellow and black outfit.
Yes, most likely.
But
apparently, though, he's going to be here soon, around the time that they're talking about this, filming his X-Men Apocalypse movie.
Oh, is that going to be over here?
That's what I'm reading in the comments here.
Holy shit, seriously?
You will be in Canada around April to film the new X-Men Apocalypse movie. And this is not a verified source, so don't take my word for it. Yeah. But it's definitely something to look at.
Well, people are certainly in support of it. Says here, Wolverine is a Canadian and Albertan symbol of strength, perseverance in the face of tragedy, and overall heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Day, an Edmontonian who has signed the form online, said, Wolverine is as much a Canadian icon as hockey, Tim Hortons, and poutine. It would be awesome that Edmonton would be home to a fitting tribute to him. Rob Wing, another local supporter, wrote, despite being a comic book character, the morals and traits portrayed by Wolverine identify who we are as Albertans. Honorable, strong, and sometimes a little wild. Mm-hmm. I would be proud to be identified with this type of symbol. I would just be proud to say that we have a Wolverine statue in our city. Like, that's all I need to fucking say.
Oh, you know what, though? This is going to hurt everybody a little bit. I've just received some information about Wolverine. He is actually a Calgary Flames fan. I'm really sorry to let you know that.
What do you mean he's a Flames fan?
He's a Flames fan, man. It has been confirmed.
Has he worn a Flames jersey?
Check that out. Check that out. I just sent you a link.
All right, let me see.
It's funny.
Oh, it's an actual like comic book.
Yeah, and he's wearing that Calgary Flames jersey.
I want to zoom in.
Now I wonder if this is some fan who made this.
It could be.
If it's counterfeit, or if it's real from Marvel, or whoever created them.
It has no credit to Marvel.
That's exactly what I'm looking for right now. I may have spoken out of turn.
Possibly. I mean, I would probably fall under a very similar assumption, just because it looks legit. The art style is great. Just so everybody knows, we're actually looking at this clip on Photo Bucket. So nothing is being said that the poster is Marvel or anything like that, and there's no credits in the comic strip itself. But, you know, these kind of things have been pulled and used in context before. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, even if he is a Calgary Flames fan, maybe it was a Calgarian that made Wolverine, for all we know.
And he shouts out, "It is my mortal right as a Canadian" at one point.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. I guess maybe they should build a statue with him wearing the Flames jersey.
But he's still from Edmonton.
Yeah, we'll put him in Edmonton wearing the Flames jersey. Let's see how much outrage that can cause.
And it'll just show his modesty and the fact that he cannot hold a grudge against one of the worst towns in Alberta.
Absolutely. Let's get this petition ready to go, people. We'll share the link in the description, and you can get yourself over there and sign that petition. Get us a Wolverine statue. We'll take a picture of it. Bill and I can pose in front of it or something.
Indeed.
When everything's all said and done, we'll do all kinds of sensual poses with it.
Sensual indeed. It'll be lovely.
Oh, yes.
Sensual.
Uh-huh. Sensual feeling. I think our last order of business here, we should be talking about the Blizzard's recently canceled Titan MMO.
Mm-hmm.
Took them 7 years to come to the conclusion that it just wasn't the game that they wanted to make in the first place.
Though don't lose all your hope, because from what I read, they may have, like the team who was developing it, several people stayed together and have decided to perhaps continue working on it under a different name with a lot less funding.
Okay. So this could be a little So this could potentially just be a story that's been construed within the media. Like people jump to a conclusion. It was just
No.
oh
The
my
game,
God, it's canceled. It's scrapped.
no, they have taken a lot away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's going to come out, it's going to be in a long, long time, and it's not going to be the same game. But they're still working on it, doing what they're going to call trying to find the fun, because they seem to say that they've lost it, which is sad because it sounds like a really good game. Here's something that I have a quote. Word on the street is that a good handful of the Titan team is actually still intact, despite yesterday's news that the game has been canceled. So those are going to be the people potentially still working on it.
Yeah. Now, just kind of like reading through a lot of like what has been described of the game and how it handles, it sounded very much like what Destiny is. And I wonder if that had any effect on this decision.
Well, okay, from what I read, Titan is a game with two parts, essentially, where you're during the day working a job, like any job that you guys work in your real life. You could be a mechanic, a store owner, you could sell shoes, whatever. And then you'd get called away to fight a sort of secret shadow war. Could happen during the day or at night, essentially. And that's the gist of the game.
Yeah.
Is that what Destiny is like? Because that's not what I've seen.
Well, okay. I feel it's more similar for the social aspect of it, for the most part. Maybe not so much in the actual handling. I'm kind of skimming through the article here, and they're saying that in terms of aesthetics, it handles very much like a Team Fortress 2 clone.
Yeah, and the gameplay as well is what I've heard is similar to that.
One source here, it describes it as a cross between StarCraft 2's in-game cinematics with Pixar's The Incredibles.
Yeah. And there's another one that says Team Fortress 2 meets Destiny meets The Sims meets World of Warcraft. Which, when you put all that together, actually does sound really appealing.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to play a game like that. Sounds
ambitious.
A cool thing that I read about it is their AI system, which they hired a former Maxis staff who worked on The Sims in order to implement a complicated AI system, which is meant to allow players to maintain relationships with non-player customers and retail staff, and even start a family.
Yeah.
So you got a bit of the Peter Molyneux in there, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. It seems almost like they wanted to really build on the social aspect of everything and have the user base almost drive a living, breathing economy within this game.
Yeah.
Like open up your shop, build a business, create a civilization. I mean, NPCs would populate, but it sounds like the players would be the ones that would affect the outcome of the world.
And there are several different factions. I think there was like 5 or something like that, who had vastly different abilities, ranging from like cloaking and snipers to like teleporting and fast-moving guys who could leap in and out of combat.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's going to be a tank of some sort. There always is.
It said when you're not in combat, it sits in a first-person perspective, but when you actually go out into the battleground, the camera pulls back and gives you a third person.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an interesting idea. I guess Destiny does something similar to that as well.
Yeah, that's where they compared it to Destiny, and I haven't really seen any footage of it, so I didn't know where they were coming from.
Yeah.
I don't really know how they would make a daytime worth of playing in a store, like being a business manager or a simple worker. I don't know how they would make that very interesting or fun. So maybe that's where they lost a lot of their fun, as they said.
Yeah, it was probably a lot of, side things to do that just didn't make sense.
A lot of mini games, it would seem.
Probably didn't. It was probably very almost overwhelming. Maybe it was a little too much too soon, or it wasn't really working in the same tune as what they're trying to, get with World of Warcraft and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, I mean, they scrapped it or they revised their original concept back in, I think it was 2011 or 2012.
So what was the original concept?
Well, they've just been building on it, but it said something here. Come 2012, they just decided to overhaul a good majority of the game to sort of like take it into a different direction, and that still didn't seem to pay off for them. Like they just seemed very indecisive about the whole project from its conception, and it was just like simply experimental. It is. It said that overall cost for the cancellation to Blizzard is going to be about $50 million.
Jesus Christ.
I think that's pocket change for them. Like, that's nothing.
Oh, it is, definitely. There's no doubt about that, but it's just such a... I don't know. We're never going to see that much money in our lives, and they just throw it away like, it's nothing. But, at the same point, if you're not happy doing something, you shouldn't just continue to do it for the sake of finishing it, you know? Drop it and move on.
Yeah, and I mean, they put 7 years into it. I'm glad that they didn't bother to, like, keep committed and just be like, okay, well, we've taken it this far. We might as well just get it out there for fans, because it probably wouldn't have done well. Like, Blizzard has made a point that, you know, they actually care about the games that are made, and they don't just put them out there for the sake of having a game. Like, sure, they're pressured to put out a new MMO. People would like to see something more than just World of Warcraft, but I mean, here they're going on a new expansion, you know, after like the last 4 when they said they were going to stop. Like, they just keep fueling it. So I don't know, maybe they're just trying to keep the World of Warcraft alive until they can replace it with something new, or
I think even when they do get something new, they're not going to just ditch World of Warcraft.
Right.
And the thing about them being so successful is that they have enough money that they can just be like, the pressure doesn't get to them, essentially, of being like, oh, we need something else, because they don't. Not in terms of money. They're doing fine. It's just basically their image is all they have to be worried about.
Absolutely.
The quality of the games.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't think of the last time Blizzard's been ridiculed for putting out a shitty game. I mean, if anything, players will complain about how their games handle, but all of that can be fixed with title updates and stuff.
Indeed.
I mean, they certainly are a passionate bunch, and they definitely want to make, you know, a game that's worthy of the Blizzard name. And I guess this Titan project just didn't cut it for them. I would like to see footage. I'm a little upset that I don't get to see footage.
There is no footage yet. Like, all the information that's out right now is leaked by former Blizzard staff and stuff. They don't want people talking about it too much.
I don't see why not. Like, if it's a canceled project, and it doesn't matter if it's... Like, I just need footage. I don't need us to...
Maybe take that as a good sign, is maybe they haven't completely scrapped it, and that handful of people is still working on it. Maybe. That's just me pulling that out of my ass, so it's no reason for me to think that.
Well, just for the fact that they're keeping a good majority of the Titan team to sort of work on other future projects tells me that they certainly want to borrow some elements that they have implemented into this project.
Oh, yeah. You can't go 7 years working on something and not learn something valuable. So that's definitely true.
Right. Like, they had some things that were working, but then they just tacked on a whole bunch of extra shit, and it just didn't, you know, it didn't all work
fit together. Yeah.
Doesn't work as synergistically as we, you know, see in other previous Blizzard titles. Indeed. It just sounds like it was really separating itself from what is, I would consider, their comfort zone. It didn't sound like it was going to be part of any existing franchise. This is going to be something new. Visually, it probably looks similar to what we're seeing with World of Warcraft and stuff, but, like, you know, a lot of people I've heard want to see a World of StarCraft, or if you just had, like, World of Blizzard and incorporated both universes. I mean, I don't know how that could be possible. Like, maybe you could just go out into space with StarCraft, or, you know, play as your Marines in separate factions. Like, just let that grip your imagination for a second. Just think on how vast that world could possibly be.
Well, I could tell you I would definitely be interested in a World of StarCraft. That would be pretty cool as an MMO.
Mm-hmm.
If you could get rid of the point and click kind of gameplay, I think Elder Scrolls Online is a bit of a different combat system.
Yeah.
For that kind of stuff, it solves that problem for me. Because I don't like just clicking attack on a guy and then you basically press like the keys like 1, 2, 3, or 4 for your thing and then wait for them to cool down.
Yeah. I mean,
which
nowadays
is essentially what you're doing anyway, but like
yeah.
you're just pressing your first mouse button, or I don't know. It's like that in every game. It just doesn't feel like you're controlling your character so much,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, even though you would like to see a StarCraft MMO, Blizzard may not necessarily be working on that, but there is a game coming out. I want to say next year. I don't know this for certain, but this is very much along the lines of what I think Blizzard should be reaching for. And I'll show you I'll show you a link so I can show you what I'm talking about. Have you heard of No Man's Sky?
I have not.
All right. Well, you got to look at this trailer, and I want to hear what you think, because this is again another game that's got me got my radar on it. Very ambitious. A very small team of people are working on it. Like, I heard it was from the time it was unveiled to us, I heard it was like a team of 8 people or something like that. And what they've done is they've created a algorithm with their game engine that literally creates billions upon thousands of different planets. It's virtually impossible for you to explore every single planet within a human lifespan.
You mean a natural, like, our lifespan?
Yes.
Holy Jesus. That's...
What they're shooting for is they're trying to give players that sense of exploration. The entire concept is you just start on a planet, and you have to figure out a way to get yourself off of that planet, and you have to travel to the center of the universe. That is ultimately your goal. But, like, your supplies are limited, obviously. You're going to have to...
So there's a survival element to it.
There is a survival element. You'll have to probably construct your ship. You'll probably have to find fuel supplies. It seems to be a very popular concept.
Oh, wow. The monster here charging through the forest, causing everything to run away, and then how he just seamlessly jumps into the ship and starts flying.
Yeah, like...
But the herds of stuff just, like, sprinting away creates that big sense of danger, like, get the fuck out of here!
Yeah, everything is just randomly generated, and it's seamless. You can get in your ship, travel way off into space,
not have to worry about asteroids too.
Asteroids, you can jump straight into, like, combat with anybody. And you see that planet off into the distance, they're going to go over there and they're going to land on that planet. And then next thing you know, it's like a whole new species of creatures, all new genomes, different world logic that follows, and all that kind of shit. Like, I don't know if
those ships that just all warped in, are those NPCs or are those...
I would assume those to be players.
Jeez, that's just crazy.
I would say the shit that they were fighting were NPCs.
Yeah.
But in the ship, I would say those are players. And yes, you can, like, it is an open world. They haven't said much about what the online capabilities are, but the impression I get from it is it's going to be very much of like what we see with Destiny, where it's just players in this world, and it will probably be like a PvP sort of thing. And you can work together, build your own factions, and just go nuts.
That looks amazing.
Oh my god, dude, I want it.
I'm gonna have to get this computer really upgraded before this comes out.
Well, this is going to first come out on the PS4, but they are shooting for a PC release as well.
I would hope so with a big game like that.
Yeah, and this too, for me, I feel that this is another one of those games that's going to take full advantage of the Morpheus headgear.
Oh yeah, because it was all first person. That would actually fit quite nicely.
And it's just again, I sound like a broken record player today. Heavy head people, I'm sorry. But the atmosphere and everything, visually it's beautiful. Like, I would love to immerse myself in that world. Like, just put on a headgear, get full surround, and it's like you're actually there. Like,
it's going to be amazing.
Like a no-brainer.
Never before have you looked at what you're looking at in the game with no distractions. Like, you cannot see the wall behind the TV or everything in the room beside you. It's just going to be pure game. Pure. It's like stepping into another world. It's going to be something completely different.
Absolutely.
I'm incredibly excited for it.
Well, I'm happy that you're excited.
Yeah. I'm happy that you opened my eyes.
Now, if only Blizzard could pull something like that off, you know?
Oh, I think that these guys who are in the forefront of it are definitely not, like, you can only expect better things to come after them, so.
Absolutely.
It could happen.
This is one of those games that will change the playing field. Like, every other competitor out there is going to want to try and reach the scale that this game is going to hit.
Oh, yeah.
And just, it's almost unimaginable that you have an entire, like, living, breathing universe
that's just randomly generated,
completely explorable and virtually impossible to cover in your lifetime.
That would be the game with the ultimate replay value, wouldn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. If you want to just get yourself lost in a game world,
yeah,
just kind of get away, escape from real life problems. No Man's Sky, I mean, just the visuals alone bring joy to my life. I'm such a sad human being.
No, man. No. I think it has that effect on everyone. It's that amazing.
Brings a smile to my face, and I can't fucking wait. Like, I hate it when they tease us with this shit because we're not going to see anything of it till like next year at E3 or something. Like, none of this is being said of like a release, you know. We probably won't have it hit consoles for another year and a half, but I guess I'll have my Oculus Rift to tie me over till then.
Yeah, which is not too bad at all, so don't you dare complain.
No. But I love to complain. I'm so passionate about these games. I want them. Give them to me now.
No!
Snap your fingers. I don't care if the coding's not done. I just want to get it now.
I agree. But we live in reality, and that can't happen. So
no, time is a virtue.
Patience is a virtue.
Patience is a virtue. I'm sorry. I don't know how we're supposed to end on a note here. I'm so beat. So just
well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing I'm here.
Oh, holy shit!
Really?
Kaz just jumped in.
Whoa!
Ooh. You know,
we're still here the whole time.
I never left.
How you feeling, buddy?
Feeling okay. Just wanted to say, you guys are doing a good job. Keep it up.
Yeah.
So there it is, folks. You'll catch the Console Xplosion exclusively at the Edmonton Expo. If you haven't had a chance to see our Saskatoon Expo renditions, check them out on YouTube. They should be up there now by the time this gets out. And look forward to seeing all our Edmonton stuff coming from Matt and Bill. Should be really good. Again, my name's Kaztech. Look forward to seeing all the great stuff here on the Console Xplosion.
And this is Bill from Edmonton. I will see you guys there, hopefully.
And this is Matt. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at GingyBeardyGuy and check out all my work on the Console Xplosion with the Co-op Couch Show. That's what I'm going to say. I'm working at 60%, and I do apologize for the pacing of the show. I feel I was a little dopey, to say the least, but I'm not coughing, so you didn't have to deal with that in your ears for this whole episode. But glad you guys checked it out. Email us, talk to us, check out our Facebook page, all that good stuff.
And comment on things that you'd like us to chat about.
Yes,
definitely.
Please.
Yeah. Especially with October coming, we're gonna have some little monster fests. I think a little couple versus conversations.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited. I'm very curious. This is the first I've heard of it, but I am stoked. Can color me interested.
All right,
anyways, without further ado, people, we are putting this night to a close. Thank you, and I bid you adieu.
Good night.
Good night.